My brother refuses to acknowledge our half-sister Amelia after our dad's affair came to light, tearing our family apart and leaving me caught in the middle. I confront him, risking our bond to bridge the gap with Amelia and heal the wounds Dad's betrayal left behind. Hey everyone, my name's Charlotte. I'm 28 years old, and I'm honestly at my wit's end here. I've been lurking on Reddit for a while, but this is my first time posting because I really need some outside perspective. My family's been a mess lately, and I don't know if I'm handling this whole thing wrong or if I'm just stuck in the middle of everyone else's drama. So here's the story. Grab some popcorn, because it's a lot. Let's start with the basics. I've got an older brother, Christopher, who's 32. Growing up, it was just me, him, mom, and dad. We were pretty tight-knit. Your typical suburban family. Vacations every summer, game nights, the whole deal. Christopher's always been the protective type, maybe a little too serious sometimes, but he's got a good heart. He's the kind of guy who'd drop everything to help you move or fix your car, but he's also stubborn as hell and holds grudges like nobody's business. Me, I'm more laid back, maybe too much sometimes, which might be part of the problem here. Mom's the peacemaker, always trying to smooth things over, while Dad's charming and funny, but also kind of selfish when you peel back the layers. That's the crew I grew up with. Everything started unraveling about 2 years ago. I was over at my parents' place for dinner one night when Mom dropped a bomb. Dad had cheated on her years ago. Like, years ago, back when Christopher and I were still kids. She'd only just found out because some old friend of Dad's let it slip over drinks. Mom was devastated but calm about it, like she'd already cried all her tears before telling us. Dad didn't even try to deny it. He just sat there, looking guilty, saying it was a one-time thing and that he'd made a mistake. Christopher lost it, like, full-on yelling, slamming his fist on the table, calling Dad every name in the book. I was shocked too, but I just sat there, trying to process it while Mom begged us to calm down. Then came the real kicker. A few weeks later, Mom told us there was more to the story. Turns out, Dad's mistake wasn't just a fling, there was a kid. A daughter. Her name's Amelia, and she's 24 now. Dad had known about her all along, even though he never told us. The woman he'd cheated with raised Amelia on her own, and Dad had been sending money here and there over the years to help out. But he never met her or anything. Mom only found out because that same blabbermouth friend mentioned Amelia's existence. Apparently, the mom had passed away a year earlier, and Amelia had reached out to Dad, wanting to connect. He'd been dodging her calls until Mom confronted him, and then he admitted everything. I didn't know what to feel. Part of me was furious at Dad for lying to us all this time. Part of me felt bad for Mom, and part of me was just curious about this half-sister I never knew I had. Christopher, though, he was done. He told Dad he was a disgrace, said he didn't want anything to do with him, and stormed out. That was the last time he went to a family dinner. Fast forward a few months, and I decided to meet Amelia. I know. Maybe I should have talked to Christopher first, but I figured he'd just shut me down. I reached out to her through some awkward Facebook messages, and we ended up grabbing coffee. She's nice, honestly. Quiet, a little shy, but she's got this dry sense of humor that reminds me of Dad. She told me she didn't want anything from us, just wanted to know her dad and maybe her siblings. She'd grown up knowing he existed, but never pushed to meet him until her mom died. I could tell she was nervous, but she seemed genuine. We've hung out a few times since then, maybe once a month or so, just casual stuff like lunch or a walk in the park. I haven't told Christopher yet because I know he'd flip. Here's where the main conflict comes in. Last month, Mom decided she wanted to have a family meeting to try and sort everything out. She'd been talking to Dad about Amelia, and he finally agreed to meet her. Mom thought it'd be good for all of us to sit down together. Me, Christopher, Dad, and Amelia. I wasn't thrilled, but I said I'd go because Mom's been through enough, and I didn't want her dealing with this alone. Christopher, though, he flat out refused. He told Mom he doesn't care who Amelia is, she's not his sister, and he's not going to pretend she is. He said Dad made his bed and can lie in it, but he's not dragging him into this fake family reunion. Mom begged him, saying it's not about forgiving Dad, but about giving Amelia a chance. He wouldn't budge. I went to the meeting anyway. It was awkward as hell. Dad tried to play the happy dad card, acting like he hadn't ignored Amelia for 2 decades. Amelia mostly just listened, looking uncomfortable but hopeful. Mom kept trying to steer the conversation to neutral stuff, like Amelia's job, she's a graphic designer, or her hobbies. I chimed in where I could, but the whole thing felt forced. Afterward, I told Christopher how it went, not to rub it in, but because I didn't want to keep secrets from him. Big mistake. He blew up at me, saying I was betraying the family by even talking to her. He accused me of picking Dad's side and said I was disrespecting Mom by playing house with Amelia. I tried to explain that I'm not choosing sides. I just don't see why Amelia should pay for Dad's screw-ups. But he hung up on me. We haven't talked since. That's the main mess, but there's more piling on top of it. Subconflict number 1. Mom's been leaning on me hard lately. She's still married to Dad, but she's a wreck, crying 1 minute, angry the next. She keeps asking me to mediate between her and Christopher because he won't answer her calls either. I get that she's hurting, but I'm not a therapist, and I'm starting to feel like her emotional punching bag. Subconflict number 2. Dad's acting like nothing's wrong now that the secret's out. He's back to his old charming self, cracking jokes and planning fishing trips, like we're all supposed to forget what he did. It's driving me nuts, and I've been avoiding him, which makes Mom mad because she thinks I'm punishing him. Then there's Amelia. She started texting me more, asking about family stuff, like what Christopher's like, what Dad was like when we were kids. I don't mind talking to her, but it's weird knowing Christopher hates her existence. I feel guilty every time I reply, like I'm sneaking around behind his back. Plus, I'm starting to wonder if she's expecting more from me, like a real sisterly bond, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I barely know her, and this whole thing still feels like a fever dream. Let's rewind a bit, because I think some backstory might help explain why this is hitting us so hard. Growing up, Christopher was always the man of the house type, even as a kid. Dad worked long hours, so Christopher was the one fixing stuff around the house or driving me to soccer practice when Mom was busy. He idolized Dad back then, used to brag about how cool he was, how he'd grow up to be just like him. Finding out Dad's been lying about something this big shattered that image for him. Me, I was more of a daddy's girl, always laughing at his dumb jokes, begging him to take us camping. I think that's why I'm not as ready to cut him off as Christopher is. I'm mad, sure, but I still see the guy who taught me how to ride a bike, you know? The house we grew up in was this cozy little split level with a big backyard. Nothing fancy, but it was home. I can still picture Christopher and me running around out there, Dad grilling burgers while Mom yelled at us to wash up. It's weird thinking about how much has changed. Now, family dinners are silent, or they don't happen at all. Christopher's moved out to an apartment downtown. I've got my own place a few miles away, and Mom and Dad are rattling around that house like ghosts. I drove by the other day, and the yard's overgrown. Nobody's bothered to mow it. It's like a metaphor for this whole mess. I've been replaying that fight with Christopher over and over. He's always been stubborn, but this feels different, like he's drawing a line in the sand, and I'm on the wrong side of it. I get why he's mad at Dad. Hell, I'm mad too. But I don't get why he's shutting me out for trying to figure this out my own way. I've tried texting him a couple times since, just casual stuff like, "Hey, you catch the game last night," but he leaves me on read. It stings. We've never gone this long without talking. Mom's no help either. Last week, she called me crying because Christopher told her he's not coming to Thanksgiving if Amelia's there. She's desperate to fix this, but I don't know how to tell her it's not my job to drag him back. I suggested she talk to Dad about it. Maybe he could reach out to Christopher, but she just sighed and said, "You know how they are." Yeah, I do. Stubborn and pig-headed, both of them. Meanwhile, Amelia's been dropping hints about wanting to meet Christopher. She hasn't said it outright, but she'll ask stuff like, "Does he like hiking too?" Or "Did he ever mention me?" I dodge the questions because what am I supposed to say? Yeah, he knows about you and wants nothing to do with you? She doesn't deserve that, but I'm not about to lie either. I feel like I'm juggling everyone's feelings and dropping all the balls. I've been venting to my best friend, Lisa, about this. She's known my family forever and gets how complicated it is. She thinks Christopher's being a jerk, but says I need to give him time. She also thinks I'm doing the right thing by meeting Amelia, even if it's messy. I don't know, though. Every time I see Amelia, I feel this weird mix of guilt and curiosity, like I'm betraying Christopher, but also trying to fill in this blank space in my life I didn't know was there. The other day, I was cleaning out my closet and found an old photo album from when we were kids. There's this one picture of me, Christopher, and Dad at the lake. Christopher's holding a fish he caught, grinning like an idiot, and Dad's got his arm around him, proud as anything. I sat there staring at it for, 20 minutes, wondering how we got from that to this. I almost sent it to Christopher with some sappy message, but I chickened out. He'd probably just think I was trying to guilt trip him. I keep thinking about what I want out of this. Do I want Christopher to come around and meet Amelia? Yeah, I guess I do, but not because I think he owes her anything. I just miss my brother, and I hate that this is tearing us apart. Do I want Dad to own up to what he did? Hell yes, but I'm not holding my breath. Do I want to keep seeing Amelia? Maybe. She's not the problem here, but I don't know if I can handle being her lifeline to this family when I barely know what I'm doing myself. I'm exhausted. Between Mom's breakdowns, Christopher's silent treatment, Dad's denial, and Amelia's quiet hope, I feel like I'm drowning. I've been trying to stay neutral, but maybe that's the issue. Maybe I need to pick a side. But how do you choose between your brother, who's been your rock forever, and a half-sister you didn't ask for but can't help liking? Or between your mom, who's breaking, and your dad, who broke her? I saw this quote on Reddit the other day. Something about how family isn't just blood, it's who you'd fight for. I'd fight for Christopher in a heartbeat, but I don't know if he'd say the same about me right now. And Amelia, she's blood, sure, but she's a stranger. Does that mean I owe her something, or nothing at all? So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't even know what I'm asking here. Am I the problem for not cutting Amelia off like Christopher wants? Am I screwing up by trying to keep everyone happy? I just want my family back, but I don't know if that's even possible anymore. What do you guys think? Am I the one at fault here?
Update incoming.
Update. This is what has happened since then. Hey everyone. It's been a wild few months since I last posted here, and I figured I owed you guys an update because things have definitely escalated. Thanks for all the comments last time. They really helped me think through this mess, even if I'm still not sure where I stand. So, here's what's been going down with me, Christopher, Amelia, and the rest of the chaos. After that big blowout with Christopher, I honestly thought he'd cool off eventually. I mean, he's always been stubborn, but we've never stayed mad at each other this long. Turns out, I was wrong. He didn't just double down. He built a freaking fortress around his grudge. For a while, I kept trying to reach out, texts, calls, even dropped by his apartment with some takeout once, hoping we could just talk. He either ignored me or gave me one-word answers like, busy, or fine. The takeout thing? He opened the door, saw it was me, said, I don't need this, and shut it in my face. That stung more than I'd like to admit. We're at, for months of radio silence now, and it's starting to feel permanent. Mom's been a wreck about it. She keeps saying she didn't mean to lose her son over this, and every time we talk, she ends up crying about how she should have handled the family meeting differently. I've tried telling her it's not her fault. Christopher's the one drawing lines, but she's convinced she can fix it if she just finds the right words. She's even started leaving voicemails for him, begging him to come over, but he doesn't budge. Last week, she told me she's thinking about therapy, which I think is a good idea, but she's still clinging to this hope that one big gesture will bring him back. I don't have the heart to tell her he might be gone for good. Dad, on the other hand, is acting like everything's peachy now that he's met Amelia. He's gone full doting father mode with her, calling her up, taking her out for lunch, even bought her a freaking sketchbook because she's into graphic design. It's so weird watching him play this part after ignoring her for 24 years. I've been dodging his invites to join them because it feels fake, and honestly, I'm still pissed at him. He cornered me at Mom's place a while back, all smiles, asking why I'm being so distant. I snapped and told him maybe I'd be less distant if he hadn't lied to us my whole life. He got quiet, muttered something about making up for lost time, and left. We haven't really talked since. Amelia's still around, and that's where things get complicated. We've kept meeting up, nothing intense, just coffee or a quick bite here and there. She's easy to talk to, and I can tell she's trying not to push too hard. But she started opening up more, telling me about her mom, her childhood, how she always wondered what we were like. It's hard not to feel for her. She didn't ask for any of this. A couple weeks ago, she asked if I'd ever told Christopher about our meetups. I admitted I had, and that's why he's not talking to me. She got this guilty look and said, I don't want to ruin your family. I told her she's not the one who ruined it, but I could tell she didn't believe me. Then came Thanksgiving. Oh man, that was a disaster. Mom was dead set on having a real family holiday, which meant inviting everyone. Me, Christopher, Dad, and Amelia. I warned her Christopher wouldn't show if Amelia was there, but she insisted, saying, "He'll come around for me." Spoiler, he didn't. I got there early to help cook, and Amelia showed up with a pie she'd baked, nervous but trying to fit in. Dad was there too, cracking jokes like it was any other year. The table was set for 5, but by 6 p.m., Christopher was a no-show. Mom kept checking her phone, then started crying into the mashed potatoes. I tried to keep things light, but it was brutal. Amelia offered to leave, but Mom wouldn't let her, so we just sat there, eating in silence while Dad rambled about football to fill the void. I've never been so glad for a meal to end. After that, I decided to confront Christopher. I was done tiptoeing around him. I showed up at his place unannounced, probably not my smartest move, but I was fed up. He let me in, reluctantly, and I just laid into him. I told him I get that he's mad at Dad, but shutting me out too is unfair. I said I miss him, that I hate this wall between us, and that Amelia's not the enemy here. He just stared at me, arms crossed, then said, "You don't get it, Charlotte. You're choosing them over me. Dad's a liar, and she's his mess. I'm not playing along." I argued that I'm not choosing anyone. I'm just trying to live my life. But he cut me off. "Then live it without me," he said, and showed me the door. I left crying, and I haven't tried again since. Here's where the new problem comes in. A couple days after that fight, Amelia texted me saying she'd run into Christopher by accident. She'd been at some art exhibit downtown. Apparently he was there too, probably with his buddies, and she recognized him from photos I'd shown her. She said she didn't mean to approach him, but she was so nervous she just blurted out, "Hi, I'm Amelia." He froze, then snapped, "I don't know you, and I don't want to." She said he walked off, but not before a couple people nearby overheard and started whispering. Now she's freaking out, thinking she's made everything worse, and she's apologizing to me like it's her fault. I told her it's not, but I'm secretly terrified this is going to blow up even more. What if he thinks I set it up? Or what if he uses this as ammo to hate her, and me more? On top of that, I'm starting to feel the weight of all this. I've been a mess lately, barely sleeping, snapping at coworkers, zoning out during meetings. My boss pulled me aside yesterday, asking if I'm okay, and I had to fake a smile and say it's just family stuff. I don't even know how to explain it without sounding like I'm in some soap opera. I keep replaying that fight with Christopher, wondering if I should have backed off sooner, or if I should have pushed harder. And every time Amelia texts, I feel this pang of guilt, like I'm betraying him just by replying. But cutting her off feels wrong too. She's not the bad guy here. Mom's still leaning on me, and it's getting worse. She called me last night, sobbing about how she found an old Father's Day card Christopher made for Dad when he was, 10. She's convinced he'll never forgive any of us, and I spent an hour trying to calm her down. I'm starting to resent her for dumping this on me, but then I feel like a jerk because she's got nobody else. Dad's useless. He's too busy pretending everything's fine to notice how bad she's hurting. Amelia's been quieter since the Christopher run-in. She still texts, but it's shorter, like she's scared to say too much. I don't blame her. That encounter sounded brutal. I keep wondering if she's going to give up on us, and part of me thinks maybe that'd be easier. But then I'd feel like I failed her too, and I'm already failing everyone else. I'm at this point where I don't know what I want anymore. I miss Christopher so much it hurts. Physically hurts, this ache in my chest I can't shake. But I'm tired of begging him to care. I want Mom to stop treating me like her therapist, but I can't abandon her. I want Dad to actually face what he did, not just breeze through it with a grin. And Amelia, I don't know. I like her, I really do, but every step closer to her feels like a step away from my brother. I saw this post on Reddit the other day about how sometimes you have to let people go to find peace. Maybe that's what I need to do with Christopher, at least for now. But it feels like giving up, and I hate that. As for this new thing with him and Amelia running into each other, I'm bracing myself for the fallout. If he finds out I've been talking to her more, I don't know what he'll do. Maybe he'll show up at my door yelling, or maybe he'll just cut me off for good. Either way, I'm not ready. So, yeah, that's the update. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, and now there's this extra layer of drama I didn't see coming. Am I being unreasonable for not picking a side? Am I the one screwing up here?
Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our daily updates.